Okay, I'm starting this at 10:29. People who want to start joining me can. I feel like my team, I think I'm starting it early because I know a lot of people know that I get lost really easily. And yeah, yesterday I was out on a hike, and I'm really actually very well known for getting lost. And so I just know that I needed to start a minute early because people even on like technology might think I get lost. But I am here online. It's 10:30. Good morning. Hey, Craig. I know you're psyched for this. I mean, anyone who knows Craig Wortman, what is he not psyched for? Craig Wortman is psyched for everything. So, hey, Craig, great to see you. So glad you guys are all here. I know my daughter Abby's on it saying I get lost so easily. I do. Yesterday I was lost on a hike. I'm actually out in Arizona right now for 3 hours. I had water with me. That's it. It was not pretty. But let me say, I'm not lost here. I'm going to help all of you guys. And what I want to talk about today is the topic that I shared with you online, and why I hope you're all here, is that I am convinced that for a lot of people, this is an exhausting moment for you, even if you're at home and feeling like there's nothing to do or a lot of downtime, but that your body just isn't really feeling like it's the moment for you to really shine. But I am convinced that there are things that you can do, because I'm seeing them done, not only by my team, but people all across my email and my inbox who are, in fact, as we say in selling yourself and your ideas, showing up, standing out, and breaking through, even from home, even through the screen. So I want to teach you about the ways to do this. There are really 3 clear ways that I'm going to do it. I'm going to teach you the steps, and I'll tell you a little bit of stories of just really concrete things that have worked for me. And then after about 10 minutes, I'm going to bring in one of our Bonfire members. So for those of you who don't know, who aren't following the Bonfire, you should be at the.bonfire.co, which is our talent development accelerator for women. We are going to bring on one of our Bonfire women who is a young woman, outstanding. She's a go-getter, but even she's struggling right now. So Valerie's going to join us in about 10 minutes. But I am going to get started because I feel like I should reward those of you who came in on time. So let's get started, okay? So this is what I want to say to you guys just generally. You know, there's a metaphor that people use about like running into a burning building, right? That there's sort of 2 kinds of people right now. I mean, look, the building's burning. If you're working right now, if you're at a company, I guess unless you're working for Zoom or Instagram, like you're probably working in a burning building, right? So the fact is, this is your moment to make a choice. You are either going to have to choose to like curl up into a ball, which, let me just be clear, is exactly what I did for the first like day or 2. That's what I did, pretty much on the floor of one of my colleagues' offices at Kellogg, like was unclear what to do. But at some point, you've got to pick yourself up and make a choice. Do you run into the burning building, or do you curl up in a ball? So the first mindset I just want to tell you is, be the person who runs into the burning building. I know when I'm talking to someone who they are, because there's only 2 kinds of people right now. Are you picking yourself up and trying to run into the burning building, or are you curling up into a ball? And look, if you're on this Instagram, I'm kind of hoping you're trying to be the person who's running into the burning building. And look, you have to have protective gear on. So I'm not telling you to hurt yourself, but I am saying it's a mindset more than anything else, which is really the mindset around like, hey, Alan, how do I help? How do I help? How do I help those? If I have any strength in me right now, how do I help? So that's just an overarching mindset we're going to have for this little section of our talk today. So let's get started with our 3 things, shall we? Yeah, we shall. Hey, Jessica. Okay, let's get going. So here's the first thing. Generally speaking, you have to do more with less, and show how that actually is going to play out in your workplace, because everyone is making cutbacks. I mean, again, unless you're at one of these very rare companies who's thriving right now, everyone's doing more with less. So in your particular place of work, in your little tiny or huge role, whatever it is, show how you're doing more with less. There's nothing your boss wants to hear more. Trust me, you. Then the following phrase, which Rachel and I love so much and say all the time, like, don't worry, I've got this. Like, you say that to your boss and show them that you just did something and accomplished something in very little time and with less resources than they gave you a month ago. Like, that's golden, people. That phrase, I'm just telling you, say it a lot. Like, just watch what your boss does when you do that. Just go like, don't worry, I've got this. I mean, you have to deliver on the other side of that, of course, but you should do that. And another version of that I got actually from, I got from my niece yesterday while I was lost. I'm not going to blame my niece Amy for getting lost. I think I was speaking to her while I was lost on my walk. But here's what she said. She's working at an agency right now, and she's not on a team that's working in the healthcare part of her agency, but she raised her hand and she said, okay, it clearly must be the healthcare part of our agency that's blowing up right now. So even though I'm not working there, why don't I ask the people in that part of our company if they need help? Because they probably do. Yeah, smart, right? Smart for a couple of reasons. Like, one, because she's got to keep her job and show value. 2, she's running into the burning building. And 3, she's trying to do more with less. So she's saying, look, I'm already stretched, but what more can I do? Smart. Oh, I should be saying to you guys, by the way, see the little questions down there? I mean, look, millennials and younger people than me, you know this. Ask your questions down there. Ask them because I'm going to answer them later. So hit that question button. Ask them now because in the Q&A section later, and by the way, I'm going to bring on some guest people at the end. They don't even know who they are. One of them does. But I'm going to bring on some guests to answer your questions, not just me. So please answer and ask your questions as you go. Okay, that was just number 1. Number 2, this is the moment for forgiveness, not permission. There's a lot of things you can do right now in this moment that you couldn't have done actually in a moment when you needed to go up the food chain. Take advantage of that. So let me just tell you, for example, like what I'm doing right now at Kellogg. So I think a lot of people on this feed know that I'm really geeked out on the fantasy Survivor fantasy league. Like, I'm in a fantasy league, which a lot of you know. If you're not watching Winners at War, I don't know what you're doing with your time. Actually, it's confusing to me. But anyway, the class that I've always wanted to teach at Kellogg is the Selling Yourself and Your Ideas class through the lens of Survivor Winners at War. I am 100% sure our dean would never approve that. Like, I'd have to submit all sorts of shit, right? Like validation and research and curriculum and content. This is a moment for forgiveness, not permission. So I just basically created the course, got this awesome student who, by the way, Josh Dembowitz, are you on here? I don't know if Josh is on Instagram. Ran into the building, to the burning building. Oh, Craig Wortman is saying, what's Winners at War? Okay, how does my colleague at Kellogg, who like more or less lives with me, not know what Winners at War is? Craig? Winners at War is the Hunger Games of Survivor. Right now, all the players are winners. Like, all the players, all 20 players are playing one another. And also, why didn't you ask that in the question button using the feature, Craig? Okay, get on this, my friend. Get on this. Okay, we're continuing on. Point being, I just freaking created the course. And Josh Dembowitz, who ran into the burning building with me, asked if he could work on this for free in the middle of his very stressful moment, became my TA with no pay, but is getting a lot of mentoring from me in the meantime, is creating the course, and we have like 280 students signed up for it. That's just an example of these first 2 things. Forgiveness, not permission, run into the burning building, do less, not more, and then come back and say to me, I've got this. I know you all can do this. There are these little tiny things that just show you're in it, you're being creative, you're doing less with more, you're asking the people in your company, like, give me something because like I've got a little bit more to give right now. Show them what you can do. Okay, that's the second thing. Next thing, third thing. Last time we were on this, we talked about using your network, right? And we talked about the fact that actually, weirdly enough, this is a moment through the screen to use your network, right? Because there's a time in all of our lives where, actually I should say, this is a rare moment in all of our lives where we're all really reachable, more reachable than we've ever been before. There's also a time right now, and I'm watching this happen everywhere, where people are more inclined than ever to say yes. Like, I'm just saying yes to lots of shit. And by the way, please don't let that mean that like everyone on this feed is asking me for things, but more or less like I'm saying yes more. And I think everyone I know is trying to ask the question, like, how can I help? Part of the mindset, running to the burning building. So this is actually a time to ask people for things in your network. And even if you're someone on this feed who's like a young person, you have a network. I know you do. You have a network. You can use it. It doesn't have to mean like a network of powerful people, okay? So for example, let me give you something from this morning. Rachel and I were asking Rachel Bello, my business partner, who should be getting on this call or on this soon. Rachel and I were asking ourselves about some help that we think we might need in like more graphic design support to create more content, okay? And so we were just saying to ourselves this morning, well, who do we know who's been talking to us a lot about like anything I can do for you guys? Is there anything I can do for, Bonfire right now? Well, heck yeah, there is. So like we may ask an old colleague of ours, Brittany Barron-Stanley, who if she's not on this feed, somebody better shout out to her to get on because she's going to get a call from us right now. We may ask her for some help, and I'm really hopeful that she says yes. But here's the key to asking for help from your network right now, okay? A couple of things. One, be very specific in your ask, really specific. Number two, don't take advantage of gig workers. Like the woman I was talking to right now is not a gig worker. Like she has a real job. So this is more like if you have some extra time and you're getting paid and you're not laid off. Okay, so I'm not talking about taking advantage of people, but I'm just saying, look, we all have a couple of extra time right now. If I can give her something discreet, packaged, tangible, yeah, that's fair game, all right? I'll give you another example of somebody who's using their network. Let me go back to Josh Dembowitz, who's really getting a lot of shout-outs right now, and he's not on Instagram. I mean, I don't know. Somebody should tell him how many shout-outs I'm giving him. Josh Dembowitz, who's the student who offered to put this class for me together at Kellogg. I said to him, Josh, let's get some of the actual players on this season to come on and like surprise our class, which I guess if you're in the class, now it's not a surprise. So close your ears. But the point being, Josh was like, yeah, actually, one of the players went to medical school with my sister, so I'm going to call her. I mean, this is what I'm talking about, you guys. No, don't slack Josh. Oh, yeah, you can let him know that, like, I'm giving him shout-outs. Awesome, thank you. But the point is, this is the time to go to your networks, you guys. Ask friends, ask family, ask people you know if they are creative, if they have networks within their networks who can be delivering things right now that can make you, in fact, look good. If you can ask people for help right now, my daughter Ariel and her friend Madison are helping me with my Kellogg class for spring. Are they getting paid? Not really. I mean, kind of. I kind of paid them in like Barry's boot camp money earlier when that was a thing, pre-corona. Anyway, that's the thing. And then finally, I want everybody to have this mindset right now of just like, we're all in this together. That showing up at work is really the best thing that you can do right now, is just to actually have the mindset where you're linking arms with people who you may not have even been able to reach 2 weeks ago. Like you may not have even been able to have had access to the person who reports to the person who reports to the person, but right now you do, and they need you. So show that you're in it with them. Come to them with something really great that you just did. I heard yesterday, and this actually made me feel kind of good, and I'm about to actually get Valerie on, who has some office hours questions for me that are going to help all of you too. So hang right on. But let me just say that this gave me a little bit of a boost that Craig Wortman, my colleague at Kellogg, told me that I got a little shout out yesterday at a meeting at Kellogg from our dean for going above and beyond. I didn't even know our dean knew who I was. I'm actually not kidding. So I'm saying that made me feel good. So I didn't do it to get her attention. I really didn't. Trust me. But we can all actually go to the next layer of showing up simply by linking arms with one another right now and creating that kind of chain that makes us feel like, yeah, by linking arms together, we can do more with less. We can really run into the burning building. But put your mask on. Do we have masks? That probably isn't a good joke right now because we don't have masks. Okay, I'm going to bring Valerie on, and she's going to ask some questions, but you should be asking questions. I feel like there's only one question down there, you guys. Put your questions in the questions, and then I'm going to ask, but let me bring Valerie on right now. Valerie, let's get you on. Go live with Valerie. Where are you, sweetie? Valerie, you must be down there somewhere. Okay, I'm going to search for you, Valerie, A-L. Hold on. There you are. Okay, let me just get Valerie on. Valerie. Okay, request, Valerie. Hold on. Okay, I wish I could get her more easily. Sorry with this tech, you guys. Go live with Valerie. Okay, hold on. You guys, all right, maybe I need my tech people. Valerie, did you request to go live with me? Maybe you did. Okay. Go live with. Valerie, can you request to go live with me? I know my kids are laughing right now. Ariel's like, we'll do that work for you later. Okay, so let me keep going. But Valerie, yeah, there you are. Request to go live with me. Thank you. Here we go. Okay, ladies, let's get Valerie on. We're waiting for Valerie to come on. She's got some really great questions for you guys. And I know that these questions are going to help you too. Okay.
Hi.
All right. Why do you look so great? That's crazy.
Oh, this is actually a good reason for me to actually get dressed. So thank you for the invitation to be here and put clothes on and brush my hair.
Like I should have put lipstick on. Okay, you look great. But besides that, first of all, let me just say in all honesty, like just showing up like this right now, I'm like, yeah, you're in it. Like, and I'm not saying people need to do this, but I feel like you're in it. So Valerie, you're a Bonfire member. I'm so thrilled. You are definitely someone who, to me, feels like you are always about showing up. So I know you have questions. Tell me what we can do. I know some of your questions were actually designed to like help you. So let me help you help others. How about that?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, let's do it.
Jump in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so many questions and things I would love help with. So you talked a lot about, how people can do things to go outside the box and kind of impress their boss. What about those of us who are the boss and we are the leader, the CEO, the executive director? So just a quick backstory. I'm the founder and CEO of an organization called Ryan Banks Academy. We're a school working with students who have tough challenges like trauma, homelessness. And if you would have asked me a month ago what my stressors were, I could have given you a long, long list and said, well, this and fundraising, and will the school stay open? And then the pandemic happened and everything is even harder than before. And I felt like I was already stressed before this happened. I was already putting in 80 to 100 hours a week. And now I think you're right that it's about working smarter and not harder. But how do you do that when there is this now insane pressure of my organization might not survive this? And so far, I think I'm kind of in this headspace of I'm not in panic mode yet, but I think if I really look at the facts on the table, I feel like I should be. And so I'm trying to stay in this place of just trying to be positive and proactive. I'm trying to do things that are out of the box, like putting together a petition and writing op-ed articles and trying to be creative. Yeah. But if I really look at what's happening and how dire things are, it's really scary. And I'm sure I'm not the only person in that position right now.
Definitely not. So look, I think there are three things for leaders right now. Just that I can say across the board as mantras, I would be holding really, really tight to right now. And they're both for sort of your mental well-being, but also these are the things I would be modeling right now. So the first is, I would be sprinting right now and showing your team how to sprint versus working in really long stretches to burn yourself out. Because the truth is, look, I'm a marathon runner by training, by mindset. I'm really trying to train myself to turn into a sprinter, because I don't think as leaders right now, we don't know how long this is going to go on for, and your team needs you. So I think you do need to model and turn yourself much more into a sprinter. So I just don't know if you should show your team that like you're capable of working those same number of hours right now. So I do think you need to, every leader right now should be showing people how to sprint. So that's one thing you can do. Next thing you can do, I think that there is a real gift that leaders can give in clarity of vision, clarity of communication, clarity of strategy, like that gift of clear thinking, which by the way goes with the first one, because when you're exhausted, you can't think clearly. Yeah. That's the leaders, that is the most important tool in your toolbox right now, is clarity. It's more important actually even than inspiration right now, right? Jessica Malkin is on the feed right now, and she's saying something really smart to you. And she's saying, like, how's your board showing up for you right now? Because that's also part of the linking arms, right? Like, you shouldn't be doing all of this yourself. You absolutely, I'm asking our board at Bonfire to get involved. I'm asking my investors to get involved. I'm asking our customers to get involved. This is 100% a time for you to show your people how you ask for help. So let me add that. Thank you, Jessica. Here's the fourth thing is, I think you need to be more than anything else, not like optimistic, super cheery, because I think people aren't necessarily like really trusting that. Yeah. But I think they're really trusting realistic ladder to here, ladder to there, ladder, like how are we getting from here to 2 weeks from now, to 2 weeks after that. I really don't think that we need to be giving people false sense of like, this is going to be awesome. We don't know if it's going to be awesome, but you can absolutely tell them how you're going to get from here to 2 weeks from now and help them get from here to there. Let me also just give a shout out to my niece, Lauren, who just joined, who is home with 2-year-old twins and a 4-year-old and working at JP Morgan. I mean, oh my God. Hey, Pastor Harris, talk about inspiration. Everybody should be following him. Okay, what else can we tell you, Valerie? Keep going. We all love Pastor Chris. Yep.
And Jessica had good advice. We actually just got off a big call that we led this morning with our board, but we opened it up to a bunch of donors, supporters, volunteers, and that was really helpful. And so to me, it was actually the idea of expanding it purposefully outside of our board. So if that's something that anyone else would be interested in trying, it did really work for us, because we have so many great supporters who aren't technically on the board of directors who bring their networks and their ideas. That was great. You know, one thing that I thought about when I was asked to create questions for today was insecurities, which is always a fun question to talk about live in front of tons of people. So one of the insecurities that popped up for me, and my husband just popped up, so if you hear noises, that's him, sorry, is just the fact that the position that I've been in with my nonprofit, and I love it. I would do anything for it. I'm obsessed. Anyone who knows me knows I'm obsessed. But I found myself in a position where I made a sacrifice to my own salary and my own financial well-being to keep the organization afloat. As just kind of a specific example, we're kind of going ahead full steam and doing well, and we lost a funder and we weren't sure what was going to happen. And so, I said, I'm going to make this cut, and we stayed open as a result of that. So, we've been doing a lot of energy work in Bonfire around that. And the story that I tell myself in my head is, well, when I do sacrifice financially, it helps my organization. And so I feel like I have this A plus B equals C. And I know that that's not sustainable. And I know that I can't do it longer. And I shouldn't do it. And it also puts me in a position, quite honestly, of getting a little bit bitter about the fact that I'm paying so many of my employees like 4 times what I'm paying myself. And they're great. They deserve every penny, but it's hard on me personally. So during this crisis, how do I kind of find that balance of making sure that I can still make those decisions for the budget to help the organization, but not sacrifice myself?
So I have a couple things to say. You saw me cringe a little bit. It wasn't cringing like at you. It was like cringing for you, right? So I'm going to answer this question and say a couple things, and then I am going to move us to the general questions. So again, people should be hitting that question button because and by the way, speaking of like going above and beyond, we are going to run past our 30 minutes here just to keep people on and answering questions, okay? But let me just answer because first of all, what you're doing is, there are no words for it. Like the fact that you're continuing to keep your organization going, sacrificing your own, financial well-being, like there are no words for that. So there's nothing I could say to you that would be like, don't do that. That's crazy. That's incredible. It's just not sustainable. That's the issue. Nothing you're telling me about today, Valerie, like this is the tough love I'm going to give you. Like nothing you're saying to me today is sustainable. The hours you're working, the financial sacrifice that you're making, like the mindset that you have right now that like somehow this is all going to like get better and the resentment that you might feel right now is going to somehow dissipate if everything in the end turns out okay and it was all for the greater good. Right? Like you're being incredibly honest and I love that, but I'm trying to help you and say like, we've got to rein this back in. So I just want to go back up to the top with you and say a couple of things. Number one, part of linking arms right now, and this is for everyone listening, everyone needs to be sacrificing. Everyone, leaders and employees, everyone needs to be sacrificing. But that doesn't necessarily mean that your sacrifice right now needs to be 4x or 10x what everybody else's is. Like that doesn't make so much sense to me. Now, I'm not on your board, but I'm just saying to you, like that seems like a massive burden. So I would check your board on that. But number two.
And that was me volunteering to do that. So no yeah, the board has always been like, no, like we need to pay more, you deserve it. But it was the decision that I made. And again, it kept our school open. And now our kids are thriving. And I see like, well, this is great. They're doing well because of that.
You're amazing. But I'm going up to the top of this, like the main, like how to show up, like how to actually show up at work. What I would actually be thinking, because what you're doing, I'm going back up to the top. It just can't last. Like this isn't going to be okay for you. The organization won't necessarily make it through in this way. So I'm just asking you the following question. And it's maybe not the following question. I'm going to say this to everybody out there listening right now. And Rachel and I have said this so many times in our own lives and in our own work. Sometimes when you cover up problems with too big of a solution, that's just the thing that you are able to do, just you. It doesn't help. Like 2 months from now, when this is all over, we still have the same problems. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes exposing the bigger problem gives us the opportunity to look at the real problem and solve it for what it is, rather than covering it up for the moment and then waking up 2 months later to find that we actually really haven't solved the problem. I've done that so many times in my life. So I'm just saying, like, trust me, I'm not saying this like, I do this so well. I'm saying like, you can't do 3 people's jobs and then also not be paid and not get any sleep and stay up at night and only at the end of that wake up and go, okay, we made it from here to there. And yet the problem still exists. We really didn't solve it. All I did was buy us 3 more weeks of time and the pain's still here. So I think you're amazing. I think the fact that what you're willing to do is absolutely leader material. I think it comes from the right place. I just think it's not sustainable. So I'm going to take some questions now because we have them. Stay with us. Hold on. Let's see what questions we have. Okay. So we have this question from, let's take this one right here. So the question says, hey, Lainey. Oh my gosh, I love you. You know I do. Okay, Lainey, what are some suggestions you have for entry-level professionals to get involved or to continue? What are some suggestions you have for entry-level professionals to get involved or continue our professional development? Well, you're doing it right now, honestly. You're doing it right now. So I think right now, and I've said this to my team too, you have to be learning. This is a moment where everyone has access to unbelievably close up learning in really intimate ways, right? So I've been getting on to people's Instagram like live feeds that I would never get on before. Like I'm almost like a teeny bit embarrassed that I'm on them. Like I went on to like Sophia Amorosa's, like, and I put in a little question, being a fangirl, like, hey, girl boss, like maybe you can help me with my company. Or like I went on to Damon Johns, but like I'm learning a lot. I'm going on to webinars, I'm going on to all kinds of things. Next thing, as I said at the top, pretty much anyone who's offering to help me right now, I don't want to say, thanks so much, that's awesome, let me get back to you. Lainey, if you ask in a concrete way, like, what can I do? And you really tell me, like, I have something specific, like I could offer this many hours or these are my skills, I'm going to take you up on it. And Valerie, this is for you too. Like maybe there are people asking you right now, like, how can I help? That can help you. Mm-hmm. I just think maybe. So Lainey, ask people how you can help. Offer to do concrete things for real, okay? And then also start learning. Learn. Okay, next question. Okay, let's take this one. Shocking, Craig Wortman has a question. Okay, Craig says, also, shouldn't you make them an offer, even a small one? I think that what Craig is saying, I think Craig was referring maybe to back when I was talking about networking. Were you talking about that, Craig? I think Craig was saying like, well, I'm going to have to back up to that because I'm not quite sure what Craig was saying. But let me go back to you, Valerie, because I feel like maybe I want to go back to you because I feel like, are you feeling a lot of emotions right now?
Well, yeah,
and this
I know
is
you're
like
right.
So like we are on live right now.
I know.
And like you're feeling a lot of feelings, and I don't want to like be answering like flippant questions when like this is a real moment.
No, your advice is helpful, and you're absolutely right about all of it. The example that one of my mentors used once when I made the decision, and he told me not to do that, was that me sacrificing my salary to save the school, right? Is kind of akin to me using my apartment for rent for our kids, like for us to save rent moving our kids in here. But that's really just setting an unrealistic example of what our actual expenses are, and it's just a quick Band-Aid solution that's not helpful in the long term. So
yeah, it's just, I've done this so many times, Valerie, I can't tell you. And it's people like you who have this enormous capacity. Like you just do. You have an enormous capacity. And so it's almost weirdly easier to just go, I've got this. I'll handle it. Like in the short run, that seems like the easier thing to do. And trust me, I've done it a lot of times. Yeah, it doesn't get you so far down the road.
What shifted within you that allowed you to stop making those sacrifices?
Rachel Bello, like kicking her ass. Like seriously, if I didn't have Rachel, it takes somebody really being honest with you. I mean, it takes Rachel saying to me quite literally, like, you cannot keep talking about this problem and keep solving it that same way by just you continuing to be so incredibly like exhausted and you doing it all. Because now we've had this conversation, Suzanne, 100 times and I'm done with it. Like Rachel's saying to me, Suzanne, I'm done having this conversation. Okay, I'm taking one more question from our group and then we are going to sign off. One more question. How can leaders be more compassionate? Love this question. How can leaders be more compassionate? Well, look, I've said many times, the most compassionate thing we can do right now is keep people hired, right? I mean, this is the number one thing. I'll tell you a short story here. I was doing work for these two brothers, and anyone who grew up in the era of Jewel, like Jewel grocery stores, I'm sorry, Dominic's grocery stores. If anybody lived in the suburbs where there were Dominic's grocery stores, anybody there? Give a little shout out if you did. I know I grew up in a neighborhood where there were Dominic's grocery stores. Well, these are the grandsons of the Dominic De Matteo, who was the grandfather. And he passed away. And when he passed away, shortly after that, they sold the Dominic stores to Safeway. When Safeway bought the stores, shortly after that, the Dominic stores closed in many, many neighborhoods. And it was painful for these grandsons because they took so much pride in their grandfather's work ethic and in his commitment to keep his employees hired, even in times of crisis, even in times of economic downturn. And they were devastated. And they felt like their brand had taken this huge hit. So they had called Rachel and me for sort of brand support and said, so what can we do to kind of regain control of our brand in a moment where everyone associates Dominic stores with firing all of our employees right now? When really, like, we didn't do this, Safeway did it. So we said to them, well, let's first get your family values written down. Like, what did your grandfather value? Was he philanthropic? Like, and they were like, oh no, he wasn't philanthropic at all. All he believed in was hiring people and like getting them to work. He wasn't philanthropic. We were like, wait a second. There is nothing more admirable in times of crisis or any time in America than keeping people employed. And that is never more true than now. So what leaders can do right now is anything it takes to try to keep as many people on the team employed as possible, to try to keep business churning in any way that you can. I mean, Valerie, that is why you're leading right now. This is what's yours to do. This is what you're trying to actually keep, is like stripping everything down to the core essence of what you are trying to accomplish from a mission point of view and keeping that thing alive. That's the thing that leaders need to be doing right now, right? That is what your job is right now. To go right to the thing that is absolutely essential to keep your company moving. And when you wake up at the end of that, you are actually going to be able to build from there. That is what every leader has to be doing right now. So anyway, I've kept us 7 minutes past our time, which is not like me. This is what I want to say. First of all, Valerie, the fact that you came on bright-eyed, beautiful from the inside out, and being so vulnerable with everyone, thank you. I have to give a shout out and say this is what Bonfire aspires to, which is why you're part of our Bonfire group. It's the kind of leadership that we're looking for. I actually want to reach through the screen and give you a huge hug, which I know even if we were there in person, I could not do, which is so painful. But that's what I would do, is just give you a big virtual hug. You have a lot of people to turn to, your Bonfire right? Your squad, people like me. Everybody should be reaching out to everyone right now who can give them good advice. And in the meantime, thank you all for coming on. We will do more of these as the weeks go on. And Valerie, you have me, you have Rachel, you have your team members at Bonfire. We're all here to get you through this. And I know you had even Pastor Harris and your board members on too. So we're all here rooting for you too. Okay. Okay.
Sorry, I was getting a
so
call.
much.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity. It's great to be here. Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Bye,
Bye.
guys.